And as the beautiful church bells ring in the new hour here in Costa Rica, a new hour wherever you are is kicking off also. Hi, everybody. And as the beautiful church bells ring in the new hour here in Costa Rica, sorry, folks. That's me having the link open in another browser. Anyway, welcome to Market Conversations. We're glad to have you on the show tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Quick welcome to Bill and Wade MS. We got Bitcoin Candy in the house. Nice to have you folks. Tonight's show is going to be something a little different. I wanted to bring Brady in and really just kind of go over some topics. You know, here we are 3 quarters into this year, and I don't think I'm alone in that 2020 was, in my mind, going to be a hallmark year. This was going to be a year where all this incredible innovation that had just been rip-roaring its way through 2018 and 2019 was actually going to take foot, right? It was going to solidify itself, and we would start to see actual adoption of these technologies, i.e. creating utility. And for most of us that are invested in these incredible assets, it's utility that truly is going to drive any kind of sustainable upward trajectory and capital appreciation for the asset, right? So with that being said, I want to bring in Brady. I want to encourage your comments. I want to quickly say hi to Tony. Tony, good to have you. Lori, always nice to see you. But let's bring in Brady and just kick this conversation off with, I got a couple of topics, and I'm going to run through these banners with you folks real quick, just so that you can see them. Number one, I thought this was really interesting. This just recently happened. This was a webinar that the Jay Clayton from the SEC and, of course, our beloved Brian Brooks from the Office of the Comptroller of Currency did a joint webinar. We'll get into that. There's an article I have pulled up for it. We can hit some of the highlights. I also wanted to talk about the upcoming Ripple Swell conference, this virtual conference this year. COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people, and this year's Swell is going to be online. Also wanted to talk about, as we get closer to December 12th, this Flare Networks airdrop and what it could mean for XRP holders, right? There's some new developments have come up. Some stuff, information was released on Twitter that I think is going to be interesting. I also wanted to make sure that we leave room to talk about the real economy, what is happening and what we can expect for the next 3 months of this year. And a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and that is Operation Cooperation. This is from XRP Army News, Mr. Scott Powell. So with that being said, let's start off with, hey, Brady, how you doing tonight, bro?
Figuring a whole lot out real fast. Some real life. It's all getting blended into one.
No, right on. So one of the neat things from last week's show is that I must have responded to 8 or 9 different folks that did sign up for Real Vision for their $1 trial and started consuming content. I got these private messages. Oh my goodness. It is, this like the different points of view that you get when you're listening to folks that are coming from the legacy financial world, right? Capital market structure, hedge funds, or what have you, how they're talking about crypto and its innovative technology and the adoption that they see could happen, and how you can juxtaposition that to us, people that are studying this and in this like every single day, right? It was amazing, the comments I'm getting back from these folks. There you go. Bitcoin. So, what Well, let's start with that, Brady. Let's kick it off with what is one of the first pieces of content you consumed from your $1 Real Vision subscription?
I think I started. I'm not sure because some of the conversations I was listening to was through other content providers that weren't necessarily Real Vision.
Okay.
But I think they may have said the same thing on Real Vision. But I think one of them was Michael Saylor's. I think it was 2 hours. That is I like that. I understand that's kind of exactly how I thought about it in 2013 when I was looking at it, trying to figure out, wait, okay, well, as long as people think it's valuable, that's all gold is. If gold didn't have its history, how many people would find it valuable? Who knows? What if you could extract the price out of its atomic structure and digitize it? And I think that's, whether it was Satoshi or Santa Claus, I think someone had figured out the only thing that's missing is the most valuable part of fiat in its belief. People believe gold because it's historical and you can look at it and it's still there. You can't really say that about anything else in the world. So that, just basing off of that, gold is ginormous. But how do you put that? How do you take that price and move it to a internet world, a digital world? Someone must have thought of it because they said, "All right, here's how to do it." I'm thinking they played into the libertarian hands, whether it was a good idea or not, who knows? But I think they kind of played into the, let's foster the people that we think will like it and see what happens. And then later it's the, oh, okay, well, we're not going to care Bitcoin because you're nothing, coming from the government point of view. And then later we flip to now today, oh, sure, everyone wants it. Oh, and by the way, here's all the information we're going to get to know about you, which brings me to my second thing is what I found on Real Vision. Or maybe it was the first, but it was when I first figured out I'm going to be the product. I get it now. I'm essentially the retail investor that's going into crypto. And the connection between that and macro is the macro guys have the traditional markets behind them. Like Nick says, well, I don't know if he says it, but there's more than one way to skin crypto. And you either buy the assets or you buy the products, or you buy the picks and shovels, or however you go about it. But that's now considered a product because DeFi has been so successful.
Well, I don't know if it's successful is a good word. It's definitely got a tremendous amount of momentum and airplay behind it. There is no doubt about it. And I will tell you that it was interesting for me in that the folks that are coming into this space from we'll call it the legacy markets, right? They're coming into this space and their faith or confidence, quote unquote, in this new digital asset class is based off of two main pillars that I've been able to observe. One is the cryptography and the soundness of the network. And generally when they're talking about these things, they're talking about Bitcoin, right? So security and the consistency of the code and the fact that it generates this thing, the network itself generates Bitcoin, and that it's mathematically predictable. These are things that guys that are charting and forecasting and analyzing, they love that, right?
Sorry,
Because
I'm loving this.
You know what I mean?
I've never been in this position before. It's weird.
Oh, where you're actually pressing buttons
through the door.
You're on camera pressing buttons? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Keep going.
Well, I was just hoping, I was curious because I know there's some folks here in the stream that I know signed up for Real Vision. Anybody have any comments while we move on to the next topic? I'd love to hear what your folks were thinking. Like maybe Brady loved the Michael Saylor, the CEO of Micro Strategies, 2-hour interview, and I thought that was incredible. The one I found the most interesting, because it really opened my eyes to something that has eluded me for a long time, and that is trying to understand the actual time horizon that the adoption could be taking place, right? When I first got in here in January of 2018, it could happen any minute. And then all of 2018 went by and it didn't happen. Then it was, 2019, we need a few more partnerships. MoneyGram is going to do the ODL, and that is going to be the thing that just absolutely, sends XRP specifically into the stratosphere. And guess what? That didn't happen.
Nope.
And here we are, 3/4 of the way through 2020. And even though we did have COVID, the drum that was being, beaten to death is
pummeled.
We need regulations. That was this year's rallying call. We need regulations. Well, guess what? The OCC put out a clarity letter. Guess what, banks? Nationally licensed chartered banks can hold, custody, and trade cryptocurrencies. And guess what? We're still at where we're at. So, listening to Tom Jessup, the CEO of Fidelity Digital Assets, arguably the largest player in the space, right? You could argue backed because of their connection to the New York Stock Exchange, but I would say Fidelity Digital Assets is the largest player in the space, and they're talking 3 to 5 years.
The only one I'd back, put it that way.
You know what I mean? So this whole time horizon thing has eluded me, and all I've had to go on was what other YouTubers were saying. You hear this stuff, all the money, and we're just a regulation away, and dun. And it seems like that's not the case.
There's a different story playing in the background. What do you think about that? There's a different story playing in the background, and unfortunately, it's got nothing to do with us and everything to do with where it's going. So we're going to be drowned out by the noise to the point where we're not even going to, or that thought process isn't going to exist until maybe the next 3 years. And it even hurts to think that, but what if that's regulation, not regulation, but what if that's as tough as it may be to swallow? Hey, it's crypto. What did you expect? Everyone was going to learn about everything all at the same time. We were just going to tell everyone, hey, this is what we learned about Bitcoin 5 years ago, 6 years ago. This is being pitched as a Hail Mary to see, hey, can we save the world with this? I don't know. Why would anyone do that? Well, Novogratz might have a few Ethereum that he may want to sell for, I don't know how much, because I'm sure he's looking at the 2.0 and thinking 2.0 to what? If YouTubers can figure it out, if Nick can point it out and, tickle its cute little belly and be like, well, you just got to wait for that Ethereum price to go up. Meanwhile, everyone knows there's nowhere to go up to because there will be no one mining it. It'll literally be a herd migrating away from electricity or miners, and just, I'm not going to say they're all going to Cardano, but a few of them may. And it's, we thought we just experienced the crypto winter. The next one is what's really going to squeeze us all, because now that we're on the United States government's time frame, we may be here a little bit longer than we had anticipated, given all the information and what we knew the smart people were talking about. And it's interesting to one of the things I remember hearing on the Real Vision was I guess he was talking to the Real Vision customer as a family office looking to put money into not an investment, but an index, and just try and gain money. If you give that money to someone, they just go in DeFi and try to rail that up, or whatever the next thing is going to be. Anyway, the software tax, because the blockchain's so open, everyone's going to know who bought what in what at what time, ergo what price. When the coins moved from this exchange to this person's address, what do they call it? The on-chain analytics are all going to know that. So all the cool things that we're learning about TaxBit, guess what? For every trade, someone's got to be on the opposite side. We think we're making money. Oh, there are people behind us that are going to look at us and see what we do. And because we have software that tells us our crypto gains are going to be better this year if we sell this and do that, that's just going to be data going into the Bitcoin price feed that will show supports. And he was talking about support levels. Let me see if I can find him. Paul Lewis, co-founder at I want to say Cadillac, but I know it's not that. Cadillac explains how to useful extract it from
Cadillac Ventures. Well, while you're doing that, I want to say hi to obviously Vet Bro. Hey Lance, nice to have you. J Par, welcome. Oh. You brought up a couple of good points there, Brady, and I would just like to put that topic to bed as far as the time horizons go and say, folks, hey, you know what? You're free to believe whatever you want to believe, obviously. I'm not here to try to steer you in any one direction. But I think there needs to be a voice of reason on the other side of the pendulum from, it's going to, we're just one little thing away from mooning. And I just don't see that happening from a macro perspective. The way, like you said it eloquently when you said we don't all learn or put our money in the same way at the same time.
Right.
So this migration from the legacy market into the crypto space is going to be incremental. And at some point, there'll be an inflection point, and there will be some nice jumps, some really nice jumps. But I think we're a ways away from that. And I'll tell you why. Here's the number one macro reason why I honestly believe this quote unquote wave of money that we've all been waiting for from institutions, the traditional to come into this space. Here's the thing. There are so many people that are still making so much money in the legacy market because the legacy markets are not failing. The stock market is not failing, even though every one of us, if we ran our personal lives like the way these businesses are running their businesses, we would be locked up for failure to pay our debt, right?
Yeah.
So they operate in a different world under different rules. It doesn't make sense to us, and we believe it's going to come crashing down any minute. But guess what? As long as the Treasury Department and the Fed continue to backstop the stock market, these hedge funds, family offices, and traders are going to continue to skin that mule because the liquidity is so deep.
It's the reason why the regulations that we thought were going to come lift all time. I mean, this is why the Real Vision videos are so helpful. You go in there and you kind of understand the only way you can make money in a market is if you can place a bet. Someone has to take the other side of that bet. Half the price, half the trades in the market have nothing to do with the price. at the current time, but everything to do with what someone thinks the price could be 10 years, 5 years, 2 months, 16 months, 3. There's like this whole, it's the futures market undulating before Bitcoin as it kind of gets kickstarted is, I guess, the best way you can describe it. There's no, the world's going to learn about Cardano before Real Vision starts talking about it on their platform anytime soon. And it's not a dig at them. It's just, I guess we have to be on for the ride now. This is the price of future markets. Because I guess if it went any other way, would it be awkward? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out.
Well, I think if you said if it went any other way, let's say we were in a world, say 30 years ago, where even though things are sided and weighted towards those who have the most skin in the game, that there was some semblance, right? Some resemblance to fiscal responsibility.
Right.
That has gone out the window. We see it continuously year after year with the way government does deficit spending. We've seen it in corporate America with the way that corporate America is just issuing more debt to pay off old debt. They're not taking on debt to increase R&D or make a new product or make an existing product better.
Yeah.
They're just issuing
pouring
debt,
it down the sink.
old debt. Now, you and I know this is not sustainable, but guess what? As long as policy that's in place now continues to backstop that, then it will.
Jerry's dragon.
It will continue. It will continue. Right. And there are so many folks in that game that they're like, I had a personal conversation just Wednesday. And I'm like, dude, you and I are talking about crypto, but you're not putting $1 into it. And he says, I'm not going to. He says, I'll just be honest with you. I think it's really interesting and it's kind of cool, but it's a tiny fish and I'm playing with big fish right now. And I thought about that for a second. And he goes, there's no reason for me to stop. I'm going to keep eating.
Path of least resistance.
You can go ahead and play with your little fish, and that's great. And I was thinking about that. Multiply that over these family offices, over these hedge funds, over these, investment banks. Okay. Well, if there are two sides to a trade and there is somebody covering the other side of that bet, i.e. the Fed, i.e. the Treasury,
i.e. the future,
then why wouldn't we? Okay, so we beat that horse into the ground, Brady. Let's move on to another thing. Right. I saw something in the comments that I want to say, hey, Bra XRP, welcome to the show. Mike Shaw, nice to have you, brother. What is this thing that I'm hearing about now? This Lori brought it up. A couple of people brought it up here in the comments. Something about Anthea.
Oh,
what is that? Is that like Black Lives Matter or
no? That's
Matter. What's this?
Ed.
I'm waiting to see Anthea. Intrigued, but a little early for me. What is this?
Ed. What is the rest of his name? He was on Nick's show twice.
Is it a DeFi product or something?
No, think Cardano, but like similar to Cardano, I think, but even a step further.
Are we talking about the dude, Mr. Harris, or the dude that Nick interviewed?
Hick. Yes, Hick. Joe.
I don't know much about it. I don't know nothing about it. I've never seen his token. The exchanges I deal with, and until I do, it's not real.
He's kind of like a Hoskinson thinker and went another direction with it. Definitely Look him up or Google.
Yeah, Mr. Hickman.
Look into it.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the guy. I've seen 2 podcasts. That's all I know. Obviously, he's a smooth talker. He's probably been a salesman his whole life. He said some things that sound cool, but I mean, I don't know if there's any there. I think
that I think it was launched yesterday or today, maybe. So I think that the there has been unrolled. So maybe that's our homework for next week.
Well, maybe
go do some hunting.
For Shad and digital assets, Jared could enlighten us, because I know nothing of this thing other than what I've heard on two podcasts. So it's not even a thing yet. How about this? Anybody excited? Anybody have any thoughts about Swell coming up? We got the old XRP conference coming up here in October. It's going to be virtual, and there are already some of your favorite YouTubers have been invited. I was not one of them because I'm not one of their favorite YouTubers. However,
not yet.
But I'll tell you what I did do. I went to their page, Swell, and I filled out an invitation request for my company, Crypto Espanol, here in Costa Rica. And we'll see if I get a reply. If I'm able to attend their virtual conferences, then I will hunker in and be a good student and take notes and come back and report what I can
Bring your
report.
Apple.
And that'll be great. Folks, we've got this flare, this snapshot coming up on December 12th. If you're an XRP holder, are you planning on taking advantage of this? And there was something I wanted to bring up with this, Brady. Did you hear what I heard in that? This is brand new from Flare. What once was a retail only distribution, we will not be issuing to founders. We will not be issuing to Ripple employees, et cetera, to now on Twitter. Hey, Joel Katz, thanks for, we're going to, hook you up, brother. And matter of fact, we're going to hook up everybody except for Jed McCaleb, because we don't believe Jed McCaleb is doing right by the XRP ledger. And I thought to myself, wait a second.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought to myself, okay, hang on a second. This stinks of something weird, and we'll see how this plays out. But aside from all that, the part that we got to get into, and that is the math. So if now all of a sudden they've accounted for all this other XRP, it's basically everybody except for Jed and what's in the escrows.
That's
and
what
what they're going to do is they've taken Jed's $9 billion and they're going to divvy it up to the rest of us. So it sounds like, and they didn't come out and spell it out like this, but this is what it sounded like to me.
It's a gruesome picture you're painting.
It will be more than a 1-to-1 distribution. It will be more than a 1-to-1 distribution.
Yeah.
And I found that to be interesting. So I would love to hear people's thoughts on that bad mammoth jamma.
I don't know if I have time to look into that one. That might be worth it just for the drama. I don't know.
Well, that was I think today on Twitter. That was, and I was like, wow, or yesterday on Twitter, something like that.
Because
okay.
I think I remember hearing I remember thinking, how are they going to exclude the escrow ones? And I wasn't aware that it was also excluding the other guy that we're not going to include in on our part. So it kind of makes sense that it's like everyone would get on that bandwagon because everyone knows they're going to get more than one. If they weren't going to get more than one and they pulled an XLM and blew that sucker to the moon, and then the only Spark tokens that were left were what everyone gets in their wallets. Yay! Obviously, it'll include everyone, but it's interesting that they make it kind of financial incentive to Oh, don't remember about the past. Look the other way. It's just more money. It's okay. In a weird kind of way. I don't know.
I want to welcome Chris to the show. Hey, Chris, I do not recognize you, so welcome to the comment stream. I think this is a question. XRP price if 100 trillion went through it. That's a really good question, and I can't even begin to answer that. I have no idea.
I have one.
I think it would have to take into a lot of things would have to come into account that we don't know, because it's obviously pending float, how much is available. How are they doing it? Are they doing it in small packets between the same two entities? Because then you could basically use, 10 XRP to do the whole thing. It would just take, 24 hours to do 100 trillion. So there's a lot of factors. Not totally sure how that would look like. XRP Bags is in the house. Nice to have you. And here we go. Bill, I'm wondering if Flare will be worth anything because they give it away for free. Well, Bill, is XRP worth anything? Is anything worth anything? It's all about what the market describes and what we're believing to be true with this Spark token, is that it will be essential in their smart contract layer for executing the actual smart contract. And if that's true, then it's going to be based on utility. How many people are funneling actual transactions that will settle in a value through a smart contract that has to use the Spark token to either convey the value through XRP or to XRP? Be interesting to see. I'm not totally sure. Time will tell. You know what I mean?
Does.
Always does. Here, I got another banner to get through here real quick before we bring in our correspondent from Main Street.
Oh, I forgot my earpiece.
Cooperation. Have you guys heard of this? This is a thing from XRP Army News, and I wanted to give it a little bit of airplay tonight because I thought it was a very honorable, valiant thing that Scott Powell at XRP Army News is doing, and that is he's getting community members together to record these little 2-minute up to 6, 7, 8-minute moment in times. And they're just kind of like community members' story, how they got into crypto or how they found XRP or, what have you. Little video vignettes. And his concept here is that he wants to leverage his monetized YouTube, the ad revenue, dispersing it to some very honorable charities. And his initial idea was to do fundraisers. Well, we all know that sucked balls. The last 3 or 4 different people tried to do that. All kinds of weird stuff happened. Now his concept is, instead of asking members from the community to donate money, to donate their eyeballs, right? So how would you feel about donating 10 minutes a week, 20 minutes a week to watching YouTube channel, learning about these XRP community members and allowing the ad revenue from watching these videos turn into contributions to this basket of charities? And I thought, that is an incredible idea. And I think it's definitely, I will do it. I have no problem giving 10, 20 minutes a week to his channel. Thoughts, Brady, and you folks in the audience, even like Crypto Ice, your thoughts?
I sign up for that. Yes, I would like to figure out how to build that. That's a great idea because it's a good way to, I don't want to say you're getting paid to learn something, but you're learning something that can pay you dividends if you learn it, I guess. It's kind of like a weird like, hey, if you get it, this can solve poverty. It sounds so stupid, but we're all like, yeah, maybe in 50 or 60 years. What if we try to start telling that story now? I don't know. But we're going to have to come up with something to whether if this takes another 3 years of sideways, are we going to sit here and talk about it, or are we going to try and introduce or build conduits that new people can come down and understand, hey, here's how you pleasantly get into the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Oh, and by the way, let's catch you up on the past 10 years. Here you go, have fun. Kind of like get into the lifeboat and here's your personal yacht. Like, if you figure it out, you can do it. Just be wary of, the videos on Real Vision. I can definitely see who's going to be the product. And it's kind of like an eerie feeling.
Well, okay, you've said this several times, Brady, and as it pertains to any site, right? Any site that has a subscription, of course, their subscribers are the product. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, well, so hold on. Let me play it out a little bit more. So okay. The way I see them doing this is they record their experts translating to the family offices. Here are the tools and the products you can use to make money in crypto. And it's basically software that looks at people arbitraging tax and being able to figure out where support levels are and resistance and everything, because they're going to be able to look at that on the blockchain. So it's almost like the traditional finance is going to come through the crypto door, because they're going to say, hey, all these hedge funds are making 200-300% a year, and it's chump change to you. So just come test our product. They're basically going to massage the market so that there can be a futures market. That's the only way crypto is going to move. It can't go up in price first before anyone's heard about it. Like, yes, it did in 2017, but we were kind of so far up each other's, windpipes that we didn't hear anything other than what we were thinking. So yeah, that was a big event back then. No one really knows about it except the people that were there. Everyone else is just kind of showing up now being like, oh, what is this? This is boring. And so now they just kind of see us bickering at each other, and it's really weird, but it's what's happening. So I kind of said the grown-ups are going to show up, but they're going to show up in a way that you won't know they're there until bam, like, oh, I get it. And I don't know what that is, but
there's a couple of things that we have to remember. 2017 is over, and it'll never happen again. That market is not this market. And I say that because there was no other, you talked about the other side of the bet, right?
Yep.
Markets are built off of a bet and somebody taking the bet. Well, there was no other side of the bet in 2017. There was no futures. There was no way to short the market. There was no way to add leverage. It was just so strictly 100% supply and demand. Okay, great. Well, guess what? We have all these things now. There are 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 7, 8 sites where you can do options, futures on the put side as well as the call side. So you got both sides, plus and minus, or long and short, or whatever you want to call it. Futures with actual time frames. So all that stuff is here now. And is it well oiled? Is it institutional grade yet? Well, Bakkt is trying to do it with Bitcoin futures. You got the CME with their Bitcoin futures on paper. You've got Ledger X trying to do an options book on Bitcoin. Will other asset, and these will just grow. So it'll be interesting to see how those other market forces affect any real moves in our market going forward. Obviously, at 333 something billion, we've got a long way to go before we get any kind of like serious inflection point where actual real FOMO can come into the scene.
All right.
Beep, beep. Oh, beep, 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 beep. This just in. I've just checked the green room. Our reporter on the street has finished her snack eating. She's no longer eating snacks. Let's welcome our favorite everyday investor, Bitta Avenue. Bitta, so great to have you. How are you tonight?
Thank you so much. And as just you're saying that, my mom just brought me coffee. So
She's coming into the home stretch.
Right on.
That's the trying to catch me without me eating is a very hard thing to do because I'm constantly eating. So how are you guys?
We're good.
Doing well.
Trying to make sense of the crazy times that are going on right now. You know, with the crypto market, this new exciting, innovative technology and all the promise that it brings, married with the after effects of months and months and months of stagnation in the economy and quarantining and jobs being lost and entire industries furloughing, tens and tens of thousands of people, to the backdrop of this very polarizing presidential election where it's not two guys talking about issues, it's one guy talking shit about another guy and another guy talking shit about that guy. And it's
big shit talk.
It's like we're living in a really crazy world where shit that should fail is at all-time highs in the stock market. Debt is no longer a concern, I guess, for anybody anywhere. Just go ahead and pile on as much as you possibly can. It doesn't
you can
matter.
write it off. Yeah.
You just gonna, somebody's gonna buy more. Somebody's gonna buy
the
more.
future, right? Yeah.
So you asked me how I'm doing. I'm doing okay, considering it seems like the world should be on fire. And I guess if you live in California, it is.
Right.
Wow. How are you?
Well, great compared to you, I guess. I don't know much about the political side other than I actually watched the debate and I was sitting there just so amazed, like this is really happening. Like this is an actual thing that's happening. And I never thought I would ever see that in my lifetime or anybody's lifetime for that matter. And I just couldn't believe it.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you see two men, educated, responsible men, debating policy and explaining why they should be elected to be the next president?
Yeah, no, well, if that was what I saw, then it would have made sense then. I was just stunned. Like, I was just so confused. I was looking at it like, where am I? I'm in America? Wait a minute. This doesn't happen like this. Like, it's just craziness. And the fact that we've come to the point where we can calmly see it and are not even outraged is crazy to me. The fact that it's so normal to us that we looked at it and we're like, yeah, I kind of expected that. The fact that we're there, where we're not, the whole world is not going, what was that? The fact that we're so desensitized to it is just like what is shocking me. The fact that I'm not surprised is what's shocking me. It's like, wow, we're at a point where it's not even a surprise. And it's like, that's interesting. So I just don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what I was watching. I was just stunned.
Yeah, the news wasn't surprised. And
nobody was.
That's what kind of made it feel weird. It sounded like they were commenting on like a satirical sports game that had like people flailing around the field, not playing the sport, but everyone was watching it because it was so entertaining. And then you cut to the news and they're like, all, oh, well, this is what's happening. And it was just like a weird, like, oh, so maybe I'm just kind of in a bubble that, the people I speak with are just kind of like, wait, what? And then everyone else around the world kind of looks at it and says, well, I don't know. The news seems to not think it's weird. So yeah, sure. Why not?
Right.
So it's just like this weird reverberation of everyone looking and going, wait, did anyone see that? Very bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't watch it. I will be honest. I saw a couple of excerpts, little snippets, and I went, okay, that's probably representative of the whole thing. I'm glad I didn't waste my evening on that.
That's why I stopped listening.
And with the COVID and what's going on in the House, and we know that the House passed the new stimulus package, but we know that the Senate will not pass it through. So that's a non-starter. All political games being played. And that's are millions upon millions of real people, not caricatures, not stories that, these are real people who are losing jobs, losing livelihoods, and are going to be, in a world of hurt. While corporations continue to hit all-time highs in the stock market. And so I tend to have my little blinders on. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, hunker down, Jerry, because none of this stuff is making sense to me. It does not make sense. So instead of like doing something about it, which probably would be a responsible thing to do, is to do something about it, I'm kind of going, all right, here's my little, I got $20 to invest in Bitcoin this week. Okay, click here. I got I got $30 to invest in Bitcoin this week. And that's like all I can do is kind of keep my head down, keep trying to learn and understand, adjust my process to fit the macro view of what I see going on. And only time will tell if my thesis is right and if I'm going to be a big winner in this or not. But it's scary.
Mm-hmm. It's like surrounding yourself with people that focus so far in the future, they figured out how to pay for it. It's like that's what's now in Bitcoin. And that's it's very interesting how they describe Bitcoin's price. 2017 to Bitcoin was almost like you at an auction, animal auction, you open up the door and the animal comes prancing around. Whether you're selling horses or cattle, people are looking at it to see what it can do. That was Bitcoin at 20K. Oh, maybe we'll pay attention to this.
How about this? So for a little perspective, you guys remember there was a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump race for the presidency, right? And it was heating up in October. Well, this day, October of 2016, when that was going on, Bitcoin was $615.
What?
Just a little perspective.
Really?
4 years ago.
That I remember, 2nd, yes, because that was
October 2nd, October 2, Bitcoin was at $615. Now, today it's a little higher than that, right?
Just a little.
We're on the right track. The technology is sound. The innovation is there. Adoption is on its way. We're seeing it playing out in real time. Why is the money not following? That's the question. And I think I explained it in one of my earlier rants in this stream. But let's get into, Britta, what did you bring to the table tonight? You always bring such great stuff to the end of the show. Not to put any pressure on you or anything.
No pressure.
What do you got for us tonight?
So, have you changed your plan before this whole pandemic happened? Like, everybody had a different plan of how they were going to invest, how they were going to do this and that. But what has the current event brought to your portfolio, as far as like what have you changed? Have you increased the way you invest? Like what has changed since then? Like,
All right. Well, I want to quickly say hi to McDi and also to Steve Willits. So prior to the pandemic, my investment basket was primarily XRP. And for all the reasons that 2.5 years of study led me to. But the pandemic comes, and I'm realizing that governments around the world have a bigger fish to fry than modifying, changing, and implementing a new financial system. It's going to be secondary. It's going to be in the back of their mind. They've got this health crisis thing that's going to suck up all the oxygen in the room, right? So as I was thinking about that, and from a macro perspective, I went, okay, well, what gives me the best chances to be successful in the short run? And every answer kept going to Bitcoin for several reasons. One, the 21 million total ever. That's a small number relative to the number of people in the world. And even though we know it's divisible beyond, all the way down to a Satoshi, we understand this analytically. However, most people are going to think in whole units. And they're going to want to get a Bitcoin. Well, if there's only 21 million of those things.
Yeah. And that's the magic key that unlocks crypto's world. It's like in order to understand what a private key is, you have to know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. It's like that's going to be the quiz. Bitcoin's going to unlock what the world can become, but first the world has to wrap their mind around Bitcoin. What happens and how long it takes is now kind of our game or our guess, because we're looking so far ahead and we know how it's going to be introduced based on what we're hearing in reality. Oh, they're doing the health thing now. Whatever's going to come of it, maybe the FedNow accounts are a test drive for, maybe we're being fed it in increments that help the people that are going to use it understand it better after seeing it work in real time. So it's like this weird, we have to be looked at first and then it'll work and then we'll get there. I don't know.
Well, Brady, come at it from her question. Did COVID change your investment? Did COVID change your
I wrote that shit down.
Because I haven't sold any. I have not sold any.
Okay.
It's only all new allocations since COVID began went into Bitcoin.
All right.
And have continued to go into Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin goes into a third-party platform where I'm gaining interest in the form of Bitcoin every single day.
Right. Okay.
So that's changed. So Brady, how has COVID changed your investment strategy?
The clarity to make accurate position rearrangements. And I kind of had to write it that way because it was the right words to use to describe what it is. I haven't sold anything either. And the only thing that I have bought or have traded is my time here for what I'm really interested in Cardano. So maybe that is a buy. I don't think I've bought anything, but position rearrangements, I'm thinking, now that I think more like Nick and his understanding of crypto's cool. Can we make money now? Like that's kind of that's myself going.
Right.
So that's why when Bitta shows up with the questions, it's like, these are the things I need to be thinking of. So anyway, the rearrangements, I now understand Bitcoin differently. I had held the previous thought of eventually they'll trade like art, because you can take a mined coin, or you can look in the blockchain and see how short the transaction list is if it were a virgin coin, I guess, or like a freshly minted coin. Those might be worth more than other ones. But now I'm kind of looking at it and understanding I might make more selling options on it than I would be thinking that it would be. So I've kind of restructured my, what do I do now? I haven't quite done it yet, but that's why I say the clarity, because now I understand. Now I'd feel confident telling the person I was a year ago, as people were doing, no, you can't put a serial number on that. You can't. So after hearing that, but still wanting to do it, now I'm like, wait, no, my Bitcoin can make more money than that in cash and Bitcoin. So I'm going to go that route. And like you had mentioned, collecting interest on it directly, that's another good route to go. So I've had a lot of clarity, or a lot of time to think, I guess is how I would answer it.
There's, it's going to be really interesting because there's no one size fits all for any of this stuff. Like, for instance, I threw up that statement from VetBro. He saw an opportunity with Cardano when it was knocking on 15 cents to sell a portion, because he had capitalized on his investment, paid off a liability. See, it's not always how much you how much you make, it's how much you keep. And if you're able to take some profit and minimize a liability, like a loan, right, where you're paying interest on money you borrowed off of profits that you made, then you carry a higher profit margin going into the future, because you don't have the drag, or what we would call the headwind of the liability that you're paying every month. You understand what I'm saying? So here's a real quick question from Joshua. Joshua, welcome to the stream. I've never seen you before. Thank you for chiming in. What about the green agenda in regards to Bitcoin? Here's the thing. Bitcoin and the people that are pushing Bitcoin are going to have 25 different bullshit answers around the green agenda. Bitcoin doesn't have a green agenda. There is no green agenda for Bitcoin. I don't care if your energy is recyclable, reused. It doesn't matter. It's energy. And if it's going to Bitcoin, that means it's not going to somewhere else. All right? So no matter where it came from, if it's going to Bitcoin, it's not going somewhere else. No green agenda. All that green agenda is bullshit. However, it's what is on the lips of everybody coming into crypto. Every new person coming into crypto is learning about Bitcoin first. Well, I love this planet. I'm watching California burn as a direct result of not getting enough water, as a direct result of global warming. And that saddens me. And I guess I'm a hypocrite because I'm investing in Bitcoin, which is this energy consumption suckhole. But I want to make some money. I guess I guess I'm not an idealist. I'm a capitalist. And I'm saying it live right here on
nothing wrong with that.
Public YouTube. But anyway, so there is, Joshua, hope that answers your question. There is no green agenda for Bitcoin. XRP, on the other hand, is as green as it gets.
BTC,
did you know you can power your XRP validator on flatulent? It's a true story.
What?
Farts. That's green.
No, is it bovine or Homo sapien?
That's really green. Okay, let's pop that up there. Bitta, what about, did COVID change your investment strategy?
Oh, definitely. I've definitely had a lot more time to do more research. I think my life before COVID, it was really hectic and busy. So it kind of gave me time to really sit and process information. There's this thing that we always say, like, if I knew this long time ago, like I would have done this with it, or something like that, or if I had this information a long time ago. But then I look back at some of the things that I knew before that I'm rediscovering, and it means something completely different because my experience has changed, so I value it very differently. So even if I had known it before, it seemed like because I didn't have enough experience or didn't value it enough, that it would have went over my head. And a lot of things that I'm relearning that I knew from before, they just have a completely different meaning to me now. So even, being able to spend a lot more time with my kid than if it didn't happen, I would have been running around as usual. That has completely changed it, and it had made me focus more on, okay, does that have like a positive outcome? Does that bring me money? Does that um, put something like a rail or something down for my kid moving forward? So that's kind of how I'm looking at stuff now. Like, there were times when I started trading short term for just little things now because I'm thinking, okay, these are things I want to subscribe to. These are the things that I want to pay for. So instead of me looking at it as an expense, what I'm doing is I'm actually trading, and the money that I'm making from the small trading, I'm actually using it to start funding the things that I want to do. So that's what I've been doing the last week and a half is, okay, I'm going to trade short term to cover the expenses of things I want to subscribe to, things I want to sign up for, and things like that. I'm going to trade and make that money to cover those expenses. So my thought process is starting to change where I don't want to touch my income from my job. I just want to make more money in order to do these things now. So that all that is starting to like come together, and it's kind of very consuming mentally now. And I'm building my following on Instagram, and getting in conversations with people that I normally would not have ever met. And I've met some great people on Instagram that in my own community that I would have never had a chance to meet. So and I met you guys. So it's been wonderful.
No, that is great. When I heard you say, when you talked about looking at something today, and even though you knew it was there and you knew what it was maybe a year ago, you're seeing it through a different lens. And I will tell you, welcome to the world of maturity. And it will not, if you continue, and no matter what field or topic you're learning, if you continue a field of learning, you will continue to have these relevant, what are they called? Revelations?
Right. Revelations.
Time over time over time again, because as your knowledge base grows, your perspective will change, even though the thing didn't. The thing is still the thing, and it was always the thing, and it will always be the thing. But the way you see it, maybe it's the way you use it, presents a different set of outcomes.
Yeah.
So welcome to growing up. You know what I mean? We're all doing it. So right on. That's so cool.
Yeah. So that's been what's been different.
Right on. Any other things? Can we get a couple of nuggets? Anybody have anything in the chat that we should address before we get into final thoughts and send everybody home? Send everybody home.
It's this study group closeout session.
Study group.
I don't think I saw any. I was trying to follow it.
A lot of the guys are talking. They're talking to themselves.
So I have a random question.
Okay, fire your hand up.
So this is actually about tax. Since you guys had a chance to talk to the person that. So if I have, because he had said something about if you sell, like let's say you bought your XRP at 40 cents, let's say, which is when I first got in, and now that it's at a lower price, I can sell that and claim the losses in order for me to claim the gain on other coins, right? does it matter where it's stored, like when you sell it? Since it's the first in first out, like when you
Okay.
file your taxes, does it matter where it's stored?
Where it's stored, it doesn't matter. What matters is how much you bought it for
Mm-hmm.
and how much you sell it for.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, it's not that simple, but it's kind of that simple. So, let's say Bitta bought 100 XRP at 40 cents, 100 XRP at 30 cents, and 100 XRP at 20 cents. And today, Bitta is going to sell 200 XRP. All right. The loss that you're going to take or the gain, it depends on, you can choose which coin. You could like say, I'm going to sell the 100 that I bought at 20. I'm going to make a little profit.
Let me be more specific. So let's say I bought the 100 at 40 cents and put it on a ledger. And then I went back to Coinbase and I bought another 100 at, let's say, 30 cents. And then before I moved it, I can say, okay, so now I'm gonna sell that 100. So where would it come from?
I think
it depends on, you can decide which one, but you can use first in, first out. So you can say the stuff I bought at 40, I'm going to sell now at today's price at 23. I'm going to take a loss, but maybe you write that loss off against something that you profited on.
Okay, but do I have to move it to Coinbase or wherever platform I sold it to? Is my
you cannot, your ledger will not buy it from you. So yes, you will have to move it somewhere to sell it. So there will be a record of the purchase from Coinbase and a sale at wherever you sold it. And all the stuff in the middle doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you moved it from a ledger. Hey, you shot it over to Jerry. Jerry held it for a week and then sent it to Brady. Brady held it in a Tezos for a week and then sent it back to Jerry. And Jerry lost it. Oh, shit. Bitta got upset. Oh, Jerry found it. Thank God. And Jerry sent it back to Bitta. All the shit in the middle doesn't matter. You bought it from Coinbase and you sold it at wherever. That's the only shit that matters. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, the reason I'm asking it is because if what you had on your ledger never moved, it was still sitting there.
The only way you can sell it is if you move it.
Yeah, the only way you can sell it is if you move it.
Right. Okay. So they're still going to use like whatever I had.
So then here's so the
don't get, well, I don't know, what you can do whatever you want.
I think I
only care the day you bought it for the amount you bought and the price you bought it for, and when you sell it, how many you're selling and at what price you're selling it at. All the shit in the middle don't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
And I think it would be important to add on the top, because you can figure out, because you have the choice to now say, I want to sell this crypto at the right time where it either limits my liabilities or it gives me a better a gain at the end of the year. We're in the position to do that because the IRS has told us, hey, all those little freaking dippity doo-dah coins everyone's got in their little digital parcels, they're all the same thing. We don't care. They're all virtual currencies. Whatever word it is they use, they just said that's what they are. They're looked at as property or something or other, and you can go look at that over in real estate. Next. So we look at that and say, okay, or TaxBit looked at that and said, tax arbitrage. So you can figure out the best time to, but we're going to have to do a lot of weird learning that has never been available to learn before because they've never been able to do this before. So
that's what I was talking about. None of this is new. None of this is new. Keep in mind, the IRS.
Well, for us,
the arbitrage part.
Oh, the arbitrage part. Yes, Yes, you're right, Brady. I'm sorry. I was looking at Mike's question.
Oh.
IRS looks at digital assets as property.
There you go.
No different than a stock. No different than a bond. So it's not income. Well, it's not income
sell
by
it.
an employer. It's a property. There was one question. Joshua had this, and I just want to quickly address it. SBI's big announcement that SBI VC Trade is partnering with SBI Esports and will give the option to their esports, quote unquote, athletes to have their compensation paid in XRP. I thought that was pretty cool. Now that would be income.
Yep.
That's income tax time. You don't have to sell it to get taxed on that situation. Just getting it, you're going to get taxed. Okay, let me get rid of that. Let's set this sucker up. This is final thoughts time. We're going to go final thoughts Bitta. We're going to go final thoughts Brady. And I'm going to close it out with some incoherent rant.
I like it.
All right. Well, my final thought, I guess, is start rediscovering the things you knew before. You probably will look at them a little different.
Yeah. Go do a quarantine on your portfolio and understand that you're a money manager and not a hobby enthusiast. That's because if we're thinking that way, we need to behave that way. And part of that means, as Jerry explained, we're growing up, we're figuring it out, and we're also understanding something, tax arbitrage, that's never been done before. So we have to put our big boy pants on, I guess, girl pants, grown-ups. So I'm glad I'm doing it with other people, because otherwise I don't know how I'd be able to figure all this out.
Right on. Well, you guys hang out backstage, and I will see you in a second. Folks, as we close this show out, and I think about all the madness that's going on in the world, there is a lot of pain, and a lot of people are going to be suffering, while politicians squabble over relief bills that aren't getting put out to the people, as presidential elections are polarizing and pitting this person against that person. Remember that we've all come here with a desire to learn and to enrich and better ourselves through wealth creation in this new innovative space. Our time horizons are different for everybody. And as I pointed out earlier in this conversation, I've had to change my time horizon based off of new information. I don't think we're going to moon soon. And I'm having to restructure my life in such a way that I can weather another 2 or 3 years if I need to. I'm kind of sad to say that, and I hope that I'm wrong, but that's what I'm seeing. And so as we continue this path together, let's remember that, our families and our loved ones come first. Let's make good decisions for them as well as for ourselves, and try to learn something so that we can become better people and better investors. When we are better investors, we make better choices. Better choices produce better outcomes. And at the end of the day, if we're all doing a little bit more and being a little better at it, the outcomes will gain exponential growth through approximation, association, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to thank all of you for joining me on my guest tonight on Market Conversations. If you've liked the stream, please hit the like button, leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Got a lot of great stuff on the channel. Got some new stuff coming up for you guys next week. Got a great interview with the dude from iTrust Capital. We're going to talk about investing within your iTrust Capital account. Fascinating stuff. Got another Beyond Moon series with a financial wealth manager. Exciting stuff. All this dude does is help people who don't know anything about crypto but have investment accounts allocate towards crypto. Exciting to see where that field of financial planning is going. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, Pura Vida.